The sleeping giant stirs, and Allosaurus, 3 to 5 tons of lethal fury, is hungry. Very hungry. And that's a problem. Millions of years ago, dinosaurs of almost unimaginable size and strength ruled our world. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some were peaceful herbivores, while others fierce carnivorous beasts and deadly hunters. But the dinosaurs of lore were giants, weighing between 35 and 60 tons and reaching over 100 feet in length. Yet all the while, in the shadows or the darkness of night, a rival was also evolving and competing for a place in the sun. Our mammalian ancestors appeared on Earth at the same time as dinosaurs, but they followed a different evolutionary path. For over 150 million years, mammals and dinosaurs fought for dominance and survival. It was a battle of evolutionary strategies, the large against the small, in the age of giant dinosaurs. In America's southwest, a desert landscape stretches to the horizon and contains the fossilized remains of long-extinct creatures, and a discovery that may be the common ancestor to all mammals. This is the Chinle Formation, and its geological history goes back more than 200 million years. Within its rock layers are evidence of dinosaurs and mammals competing here millions of years ago. In this arid landscape, a fossil of the earliest known mammal was brought to light by paleontologist Adrian Hunt. He has spent years studying long-extinct animals that once roamed these lands. And beneath the red earth, he made the find of a lifetime. Less than half an inch long, it places mammals on Earth over 200 million years ago.
This is the oldest known mammal fossil, the skull of a Delobacillus. You can tell from this tiny skull that the living animal was no bigger than a mouse. But this tiny skull was the starting point for all mammals, including, of course, humans like us. Delobacillus was a very small little mammal, the size of a shrew or a mouse. We think that it lived mainly by eating insects, just from the kind of teeth that we think it had. It may even have come out at night. It may have lived in holes in the ground. A small animal like that spends a lot of time avoiding all the big animals around it.
If we step back in time, over 220 million years ago, the world of Delobacillus was a far different place from today's landscape.
The Triassic would have been so different than today. It would have been hotter, it would have been drier, and we would have been gasping for breath. There was lower oxygen, and by the end of the Triassic, for us, it would have been like standing on the top of a very, very high mountain. So we see a time that is so different, it stimulated a great deal of very interesting evolution. And to me, it's no surprise that two of the most diagnostic and interesting of all animals of the Mesozoic, the dinosaurs and the mammals, both appeared in the Triassic. So the Triassic gave to the world two very different types of land animals, dinosaurs and mammals.
Before the arrival of mammals, amphibians and reptiles dominated the Triassic. Metaposaurus, a primitive, slow-moving amphibian, just about 3 feet long, lives here. And nearby, Desmatosuchus, an armadillo-like reptile over 12 feet long, forages for food. Despite its fierce demeanor, it's a plant eater, protected by large and sharp bone plates on its back.
During the late Triassic, climates were changing and it was gradually drying out. And the big, giant, primitive reptiles that dominated the Earth's surface were used to and were adjusted to a very wet environment. Adelobacillus came from a much drier kind of environment, and so it was better equipped to take advantage of the changing world as it dried, and to take the place of these giant reptiles that couldn't live in drier conditions.
In a landscape dominated by larger animals, Adelobacillus, an insectivore just 4 inches long, found a niche in the margins of the ecosystem. For safety, it might have rested in underground burrows during the day. Venturing out could be risky. A one-way trip to oblivion in a world of predators who often struck without warning, with lethal results. Coelophysis was one of these deadly predators, the first dinosaur to hunt and feed on our ancestors. At New Mexico's Museum of Natural History, scientists are attempting to piece together the remains of Coelophysis. With a mouth full of dozens of sharp serrated teeth, the dinosaur's remains project a creature born to hunt. Coelophysis was one of the earliest dinosaurs, and its physical structure gave it certain advantages when competing with mammals. As a bipedal dinosaur, it walked upright on its hind limbs. Its hollow and light bones, combined with the upright stance, gave Coelophysis the agility and speed needed for hunting mammals and other creatures. For millions of years, dinosaurs and mammals would compete, and how they evolved would determine who would dominate. Coelophysis and Adelobacillus appeared on Earth during the late Triassic. They started the evolutionary race between dinosaur and mammal. For mammals, surviving predators like Coelophysis was an ongoing challenge, and many failed the test. How did smaller mammals survive and later thrive in an environment dominated by much larger dinosaurs? A journey to Yale University may help answer the question. It's home to many ancient fossils, including one of the oldest mammalian fossils ever found. Safely tucked away among bones and artifacts from the ages is the ancient mammal.
So this is a Jurassic Age mammal. It's called Laeolestes.
Laeolestes lived about 150 million years ago, and this small piece of its body tells us a lot about the mouse-like creature. Its fossilized jaw, just over an inch long, indicates that the mammal was probably about 6 inches in length. The body size and the shape were about the same as Adelobacillus, who had lived 70 million years earlier.
Mammals are small, dinosaurs are big, but they all started about at the same time, about 220 million years ago. Mammals had a long history living in the shadow of dinosaurs before dinosaurs went extinct.
Even after millions of years, mammals had remained small to survive in this age of dinosaurs. Was smallness an advantage, an evolutionary trait to ensure survival in a world dominated by giants? Since the days of Coelophysis, dinosaurs had changed dramatically as they grew to immense size and evolved into many different species. Stegosaurus, despite a brain the size of a walnut, survived for millions of years, protected by an armored throat, rows of blade-like bones thrusting from its back, and a deadly spiked tail. Dinosaurs had evolved into large and sometimes odd creatures that dominated mammals. During the Jurassic period, 150 million years ago, these giants ruled the Earth. And mammals could only watch as dinosaurs of all types prowled the planet in search of food and prey. Conifer forests were common during the late Jurassic and a source of food for many of the large plant eaters. But they were also places where some very rough characters might hide out. For weapons, this dinosaur had 3 large talons on each foot, a pair of hand claws, and powerful jaws with saber-like teeth. Its name was Allosaurus, a distant cousin to Tyrannosaurus rex. Stegosaurus and other herbivores were often potential meals. Like many plant eaters, Stegosaurus gave up bipedal walking due to their large size, weighing about 3.5 tons and stretching almost 30 feet. And to protect themselves from predators like Allosaurus, they often traveled in herds. Despite its size, Allosaurus could easily run down a Stegosaurus. As the titans battle, the backplates of Stegosaurus turn red with congested blood. It's a warning to Allosaurus, danger ahead. And Stegosaurus' spiked tail is more than capable of delivering a crippling blow. In a world dominated by these giants, Leolestes watches as the dinosaurs battle it out. Suddenly, the fighting stops when a giant among giants approaches. The colossus of the Jurassic world arrives, Supersaurus. Just how big was this giant? During the summer of 1994, the remains of a huge creature were discovered in the American West. It was found in Wyoming, and many bones over 3 feet long were unearthed during 6 years of digging. At the end of the dig, more than 40 bones had been excavated. Rarely have so many fossilized bones longer than the height of an average person been found at a single site. These bones, 150 million years old, belong to one of the largest dinosaurs of the Jurassic period, Supersaurus. Months of digging led to the discovery of bones of all sizes and shapes that enabled scientists to piece the giant together. This is not your typical rib. Supersaurus was estimated to have been between 108 and 145 feet long, and weighing up to 55 tons, as heavy as 10 large elephants. The claw on its giant foot could be a lethal weapon, and its massive size and whip-like tail were enough to scare off most predators. The lumbering giant probably traveled in small groups on its constant search for food. Even Allosaurus, well over 15 feet tall, would look like a child compared to Supersaurus. Allosaurus was no threat to these giants. Scientists believe that Supersaurus lived in groups of about 5, and was a plant eater that ate over 1,000 pounds of plants a day. The giant could strip trees of their leaves, but its teeth were unable to chew the plant material. Instead, stones in its stomach that the dinosaur had swallowed helped grind up the plant matter. It probably ate throughout the day, and its neck, 35 feet long, enabled it to feed in places unreachable by other herbivores. Not only was Supersaurus large, it also lived a very long time, in some cases, over 100 years. Why did Supersaurus live so long? Was size a factor? Some believe that the metabolism and heartbeat slowed down as the animals grew in size. The end result, creatures with a very long lifespan. Leolestes watches as the giants stride by, unaware that in the future, its small size will allow mammals to survive and later dominate. But in the Jurassic, it's Supersaurus, a giant among giants, that rules. Today, among modern mammals, the largest land animal is the elephant, with an average lifespan of 70 years. Dogs live a bit over a dozen years. And small mice have a very short lifespan of only a few years. Even today, size and lifespan are still related. And Leolestes, a mammal who lived 150 million years ago, during the Jurassic, was as small as a mouse of today and lived for just a few years. While dinosaurs, with a much longer lifespan, would live through many generations of mammals, like the tiny Leolestes. But in the long run, it may have been to their disadvantage. Why did dinosaurs become so large and live so long? A global warming experiment in a North Carolina forest may hold the answer. Here, tanker trucks are delivering the carbon dioxide needed for the scientific study. The experiment is well underway and highly visible with its tube-like structures that rise above the canopy. They are conduits for carbon dioxide gas, so scientists can measure its effect on plant growth. Once the proper connections are made, the experiment continues with the unloading of carbon dioxide from the truck. The gas is a product of global warming and is essential to the research efforts of Ram Oren and his team. In order to determine the impact of global warming on plants, a network of pipes and tubes carry carbon dioxide to the trees, where it's released. The forest is now under an artificially created atmosphere of higher carbon dioxide levels that simulate future conditions.
Carbon dioxide is an essential resource for plant growth. The more carbon dioxide there is in an atmosphere, the more plants may grow. And what we do here in this experiment is we are mimicking the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere expected for about 50 years from now, and trying to assess the impact of that concentration on the growth of this forest behind us. The higher the concentration of carbon dioxide, the higher is the photosynthesis, the process in which plants produce sugar that is then used for growth. So as concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere increase, they are likely to grow more or faster.
The high carbon dioxide condition is created on the spot to simulate the atmosphere of the future. The study may also help answer questions about dinosaurs. If global warming accelerates the growth of plants, could it have been a factor in the appearance of gigantic dinosaurs? The higher temperatures brought about by global warming presented a much greater problem 250 million years ago than it does today. At that time, there was one huge landmass, the supercontinent, Pangaea. And when it began to break up and split apart, it caused violent volcanic eruptions. The volcanic activities created an enormous amount of carbon dioxide that was released into the atmosphere. The levels of carbon dioxide were approximately 5 times higher than today. Plants, nourished by high carbon dioxide levels, would have provided an abundant food source to plant-eating dinosaurs. But there were trade-offs. Recent Japanese experiments have shed light on plant growth and nutrition. It appears that global warming may promote the growth of plants, but it also makes them less nutritious. For a 3-month period, scientists have recently compared the nutritional contents of plants grown under high and normal carbon dioxide conditions. An obvious difference was leaf color. Leaves of the plant grown under higher carbon dioxide levels turned yellow. The plant on the right, grown without the extra carbon dioxide, looks much healthier. The data showed that the nutritional contents of yellow leaves were almost half that of the leaves grown under normal CO2 conditions. So while high carbon dioxide conditions cause plants to grow rapidly, they tend to be less nutritious. The study raises some interesting questions about the diet of plant-eating dinosaurs. If their food source was of low nutritional value, how did dinosaurs become so big? The answer is not so surprising. Kenneth Carpenter believes that dinosaurs grew large because they ate more.
As a food source, plants are abundant and easy to obtain, and that may explain why some dinosaurs became plant eaters. But plants are very difficult to digest, and it takes a very large gut, and to accommodate that large gut takes a bigger body. The plants of the Jurassic probably had low nutritional value compared to the plants today. Consequently, these plant-eating dinosaurs had to eat a lot of it in order to get enough nutrition to survive. Consequently, these dinosaurs grew to sizes that we cannot even imagine today. It is understanding the low nutritional value of the plants of the Jurassic which may explain and be the key as to why some dinosaurs became so big.
Many prehistoric plants contained indigestible materials, such as fibers that were of low nutritional value. So herbivorous dinosaurs had to consume enormous amounts of food to receive essential nutrients. Because of this, plant-eating dinosaurs developed larger digestive organs, and the body that enveloped the large internal organs also grew bigger. Supersaurus ate about 1,100 pounds of plants a day. Needless to say, it had quite an appetite and a massive stomach to store and digest so much food. But the development of large internal organs was not the only reason dinosaurs grew so large. Another answer was found within the skeletal remains of Supersaurus. Elephants of today are 23 feet long at most. But even with constant eating, today's elephants would not be able to approach the size of Supersaurus or many other prehistoric creatures. There was one crucial difference between mammals and dinosaurs that helped explain the giant size of dinos, and it was hidden in the skeleton of Supersaurus. Dave Lovelace studies dinosaurs at the Wyoming Dinosaur Center. Today, he has a lot of heavy lifting to do, and his job is to cut up Supersaurus. By slicing into a rib of the giant dinosaur, Lovelace looks to show how the dinosaur got to be so big. It will take 2 to handle the large bone.
Yeah, right where my hand is. Okay.
It's not your typical tool, but the table saw easily partitions the giant bone into a dozen pieces. The cross-sections of the rib show patterns in contrasting colors. The brownish yellow is the earth that filled the hollow bones in their many years underground. Removing the dirt reveals a network of hollow cavities running inside the ribs. It's a characteristic not found in mammals and helps account for the large body mass of Supersaurus.
If you look at this space right here, this is where an air sac would have been. This is an extension of the respiratory tract and actually increases surface area of the air sac system and increases oxygen supply to the organism. When we first observed these hollow spaces in the bone, we realized that they were more than just holes. These are pneumaticized bone, and pneumaticized bone has a function to lighten the animal, which is really important for an organism like Supersaurus. So not only did it lighten it, but it's part of the respiratory tract, so this is actually an expansion of the surface area. It increases the efficiency in which oxygen is exchanged.
Dinosaurs of the Triassic were the first to use air sacs.
The Triassic would have been a hellish place. Temperatures were extremely high, higher than today. Oxygen values, on the other hand, were low, lower than today. Two groups of animals evolved for the first time here, the dinosaurs and we mammals. The dinosaurs were uniquely suited for this type of world because of a brand new lung system called the air sac system. With it, they could deal with very low oxygen values. They are able to extract more oxygen per breath than would any other type of creature at the time. Because of this, they began to dominate the landscape. They were more successful. There became more and more of them relative to the other types of animals. And by the end of the Triassic alone, they were the dominant land animal, thanks to their air sac system.
It's thought that the hollow cavities between the ribs held a special tube that ran through the dinosaur's neck to the back of Supersaurus and into an air sac that was linked to the dinosaur's lungs. The combination of lungs and air sacs enabled Supersaurus to take in a great volume of air and oxygen in an extremely efficient respiratory system.
With the end of the Triassic, oxygen began to rise, and during the Jurassic, the rise in oxygen permitted dinosaurs to get larger. The air sac system that worked very well in low oxygen worked even better as oxygen got higher. With the air sac system, the Jurassic dinosaurs were able to use this oxygen, and there was a size increase. With more oxygen coming to the tissues, there's more energetics that are allowed, and you can get very big. With this very efficient air sac system they did, and this gigantism at the end of the Jurassic is surely related to the presence of the air sac system.
The air sac system was found only in dinosaurs and was a major factor in their great size. Oxygen is so essential for energy production in the body, and dinosaurs that could take in a huge volume of the gas had a tremendous advantage in growing to a huge size. The evolution of a sophisticated respiratory system not only allowed Supersaurus and others to reach gigantic proportions, but also to live much longer. Dinosaurs ruled the planet, but our ancestors were also thriving and changing in ways so profound that they would soon be able to challenge the dominance of dinosaurs. Laeolestes was the product of mammalian evolution that began with Adelobacillus during the Triassic, 220 million years ago. 70 million years later, dinosaurs had grown bigger, while mammals continued to be small. But Laeolestes and friends were prospering due to the world of change going on internally, and it began with the ear. Inside their tiny bodies, remarkable evolutionary changes had taken place. These two bones attached to the eardrum are ear ossicles, the malleus and incus. They're found only in mammals and don't exist in reptiles or amphibians. It's most likely that these bones were also part of Laolestes. And in a world dominated by dinosaurs 150 million years ago, the development of the senses helped mammals survive, especially during evening hours. During the age of dinosaurs, our planet was hot and dry, and mammals and dinosaurs were evolving to survive and prosper in a changing world. Dinosaurs were the dominant creatures, and mammals still lived in their shadows. As dinosaurs rested and the sun set, mammals were active and on the move, finding safety in the darkness of night, where they developed new abilities and skills that would ensure their survival. Nighttime was when mammals ruled, as their keen senses made up for the difficulties of hunting in the dark. Dinosaurs may have dominated during the day, but while they slept, Laolestes was able to hunt and explore without worrying about its larger competitors. Shea-Si Liu studies mammals that lived during the age of dinosaurs. He believes a difference in ear structure was an essential evolutionary change that allowed mammals to venture into a nocturnal world. Liu saw the importance of hearing to those active at night.
The diurnal or daily living animals can rely on their eyesight, but the nocturnal or night living animals cannot use the daylight, and they have to rely more on their hearing.
Laolestes' keen sense of hearing was due to the malleus and incus, the two small bones that greatly enhance the listening ability of mammals. Sound vibrates the eardrum, and the vibration is amplified as it goes through the malleus and incus. This allows animals to hear the faintest sounds, as well as a very wide range of pitches. A dinosaur's ear differed from a mammal's. It was without the malleus and incus, and could only hear a limited range of sounds.
With the support of their important ear structures, mammals manage to invade the nocturnal niche for the first time in the history of all vertebrates.
Technology can turn day into night, and modern cities pulse with energy and come alive after dark. Bright lights are part of any city today, but nighttime during the age of dinosaurs was a very different experience. The moon did not always shine, and night could create a place of almost impenetrable darkness. In the blackness of night, sound was often the only guide. The key for survival was the capacity to hear the faintest sounds. The ability to move and hunt at night protected mammals like Laolestes from predators. Their nocturnal abilities also enabled our ancestors to find and feed on insects. Scientists believe that from the time mammals began nocturnal activities, their brains had started to evolve differently from those of dinosaurs. Hunting in the dark refined those sensory skills necessary to find food. Laolestes and its powerful sense of hearing led to further development of the inner body. The ability to detect different sounds brought into play well-developed ear structures. As a sound vibrates the eardrum, it goes through the malleus and incus and into the brain. The importance of senses like hearing was essential in mammalian development. Brain power was a key to their survival. The brains of mammals and dinosaurs would evolve differently. The brain of Stegosaurus was small, but it had some similarities to a mammal's. This is its brain, reconstructed from a fossil image. Its elongated shape differs from that of a modern-day mouse, whose brain is thought to be similar to its ancestors. But in some ways, they're much the same. The inside part in both animals controls breathing, reproduction, and other basic life functions. However, a mammal's brain would reflect a more active lifestyle. The outer part of the brain, the cerebral neocortex, only developed in mammals, mostly because of their nocturnal activities.
Mammals have a much more active lifestyle and also have a more elaborated chewing. All this activity would require a much better sensory motor coordination by a much larger brain. So a key feature in mammalian evolution is the enlargement of its brain.
Today, there are many animals that can give us insights into the inner workings of our ancestors. A field mouse helps in understanding the functions of the cerebral neocortex. We can trace its reactions to a sudden sound. The sound activates the auditory area of the cerebral neocortex. We can see the brain pattern at the time the mouse hears the sound. At that moment, the area turns red. Activated neural cells then analyze the sound, and the processed information allows the mouse to quickly make its move. The cerebral neocortex was essential for mammals to survive at night.
One of the most important factors for mammals to develop larger brain is mammals have a new structure called neocortex. By developing this neocortex structure that made up the cerebral hemisphere, you are able to accommodate more neurons in your brain to integrate the information, to differentiate the information much better. If you compare an early and primitive mammal form, such as Adolobacillus, to a very derived and a very advanced mammal, you would realize that a major difference is really in the advanced mammals. They develop this new cortex in the brain, so the brain volume has also become much larger.
But the evolution of a large brain had its costs. Immediately after the red color of the activated neural cells appears, the area turns blue. The blue color shows increased activity in blood vessels, and the blood flowing into this area is to make up for the energy the brain consumed. The brain, the most energy-consuming part of the body, requires the sustenance supplied by blood to sustain its activities. And that, in turn, requires mammals to search for nutrients. Brains are high maintenance. They need a lot of care. For mammals, the forests of the Mesozoic provided shelter and food.
During the 150 million years of the Mesozoic that dinosaurs and mammals coexisted, dinosaurs had a major influence on the evolution of mammals. Although they were small and generalized, much was going on in terms of their evolution. They were restricted to a nocturnal niche, so in those Mesozoic nights were a number of great environmental challenges that they dealt with. With that came evolution of things like a high metabolic rate, increased perception in terms of smelling and hearing, and greater brain size. So in essence, we owe a lot to the coexistence with these dominant dinosaurs.
At night, mammals were hunters on the prowl, giant predators to the insects they sought. Insects, with their high caloric value, were an important food source for mammals, and a slow-moving beetle was easy prey. Yet the number of insects they could catch was limited, so the best mammals could do was secure enough food to meet the demands of the brain. They couldn't maintain a larger body, and so they remained small throughout the age of dinosaurs. At the end of the Jurassic and beginning of the Cretaceous period, 144 million years ago, dinosaurs still ruled and were getting bigger than ever, many living for 100 years or more. A lack of size was part of an evolutionary strategy for mammals that enabled them to survive in the age of dinosaurs. Ancient mammals had short lives, but that turned out to be an advantage in their competition with dinosaurs.
They have very short generation time, and they reproduce fast, and they reproduce many. And this is not necessarily a disadvantage. By comparison to large dinosaurs, such as supersaurs, that may live up to 100 years, for the same lifetime, mammals would have reproduced for 50 generations, and that fast and frequent reproduction would allow them to adapt, to diversify, and eventually lead to their great future evolutionary success.
These are teeth of mammals that appeared after Laolestes. They are of different sizes and shapes. Some are sharp-pointed, others square and flat. The fact that they are so different tells us that a diversity of mammals lived during the age of dinosaurs. Mammals, though small in size, had successfully diversified into different species. During the lifespan of a typical dinosaur, mammals repeated many short cycles of birth and death, and that created more chances for evolutionary changes. In the end, diversity and adaptability would ensure the survival of mammals, as they created an evolutionary path that eventually led to humans. Through frequent generational changes, their brain size also expanded, and today we enjoy the benefits that occurred with our mammalian ancestors millions of years ago. Now we think, worry, and celebrate, using the large brain that originally developed in mammals who had lived during the age of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs rule. Yet at the midway point in the age of dinosaurs, mammals have also carved out a place in the world. Millions of years of evolution have changed both dinosaur and mammal, and there's still much more to come. 25 million years after Laolestes, a mammal like no other emerges to prey on dinosaurs. In turn, it will face new and deadly foes. In the final chapter of Mammals vs. Dinosaurs, it's a new cast of characters, with Tyrannosaurus Rex the star. Mammals are outgunned, yet still thriving. But will they be able to survive the next generation of killer dinosaurs? Long and difficult times await our mammalian ancestors. Stay tuned. Mammals are on the rise.